Hey guys, so I went night fishing offshore yesterday evening with my baby brother and my sister-in-law, and it's snapper season here in Alabama and we have way too many snapper. So I went to help the situation out. Let's see, so I don't want to touch the camera while I'm filming because I'm gonna have fishy hands. Alright, so here's a red snapper, and the length, I'm trying to remember from last night, the length of the ones that I caught ranged between 19 and maybe 22 inches. The limit is 2 per person and per day, and they have to be at least 16 inches. And Alabamians have been managing their snapper for the past couple of decades, more than 10 years, definitely, by putting out artificial reefs and sinking artificial reefs. So one of the problems with the federal regulations in the past under the Obama administration was that they were setting Alabama's limits for us. They weren't letting us choose our own limits from our own data. So one of the problems with that is their population survey data that they were retrieving was data retrieved from open water. And red snapper is not an open water fish, it's a reef fish. So the problem that we have is not necessarily, well, yeah, I would argue they have over-regulated the red snapper, throwing the ecosystem off balance. So even if we had wanted to catch different fish last night, probably wouldn't have, which they had, I think one year they gave us just like a 3-day season or a 2-day. I mean, it was something crazy. I'll have to look it up, see if I can find a good article and link it in the description box below. So the rest of the season, when it's not snapper season and you're trying to catch other fish, you know, if you have a boat full of fishermen, if you've got 5 or 6 registered fishermen on your boat, and you're trying to catch something different, you're going to end up throwing back a dozen, 2 dozen red snapper, and you know, it's wasteful. For one, a lot of fish don't make it when you throw them back, and then secondly, you know, it's wasteful of the fisherman's time, it's wasteful of your bait. Bait's not free, and then the gas to get there. You know, if you're going offshore fishing, I would say we probably live maybe 20 miles from the coast, but to get to a good spot to dock takes us about an hour. And then, you know, you got to fill the boat up before that, and then you have to drive offshore, and depending on how bad the waves are or the weather or whatever, you know, it may take you an hour to get offshore, and then you got a total of 2 hours to get back home again. So it took us longer to get out there than it did to catch this fish. My baby brother's been fishing since he was a teenager. Not going to tell you how old he is now. I'll tell you that I'm 37, or will be 37 this year, so you can try to guess his age from that. But he's been fishing on the Alabama Gulf Coast a long time, so he knows where he's going, and he knows the good spots. And you know, we only went to 2 spots. The first spot, the fish were kind of small, so we took just a couple minutes to move to another reef or another spot, and we caught some really big fish there. Or not, I'm sorry, not really big fish. This fish that I have right here, you know, of course we checked all the sizes last night because of the limit requirements, but this fish is not a trophy fish. It's going to be good eating, but you know, snapper can get really, really big. And I'll put a link in the description to the Alabama Outdoor website, which has information on how big they can get. So if you want to catch some red snapper, I'll put the season limits for this year. The season limits do change every year. But if you want to catch some red snapper, please come to Alabama and hire a charter boat, a guy that knows what he's doing, to take you out. Stay a few days, and please catch your limit every single day that you stay. You'd really be doing us a favor, so that we can give some of the other fish communities a chance, you know, because right now just with the other fish communities not being regulated for so many years and the snapper being so strictly regulated, we've got a real imbalance. All right, and I should note that it was Trump that signed, I don't know whatever legal terminology, I'm not a politician, but whatever it was he signed that allowed Alabama to have control over its own fisheries. And we have a very active, passionate outdoor sportsman community here, and you won't find better stewards of the environment than some of our Alabama sportsmen. They really care about these animal populations and balancing them out correctly in their habitats, and they really care about a diversity of populations. All right, so what I've been doing while I've been running my trap is I've just been using a spoon to get all the scales off. I've got these on my hands just to kind of help with the fishy smell. What you might want to do if you're going to be cleaning a lot of fish is getting some safety gloves that keep you from cutting your hands. Also keep the fins from cutting you because they can be quite sharp. And I think I've got most of these scales off. I don't know how long that took me. I don't think it took, well, here we go, got some more. I probably don't need to get these off, but I'm going to anyway. What I'm going to do I'm going to cut fillets, and what I'm going to do with the head and the fins and the tail and bones is I'm going to make fish stock today in the roaster oven. Alright, so I'm just leaving them right here. I got my setup that my husband made me, which you hook the hose up to, and you get running water out of the sink. This rascal has sharp teeth. No wonder Kyle picked him up by his eyeballs last night. The other thing that I'd kind of like to talk about while I'm cleaning this fish is when you get fish at the supermarket and you don't actually see the fish with your eyes, you're just getting fillets. It's been estimated that 80%, no, I'm sorry, up to 50% of that fish is mislabeled. So what they'll do is they'll have cheaper cuts, and they will sell it as a more expensive fish. And once it's in a fillet form, and the supermarket's not doing this, they're an unwilling or an unknowing middleman. The only way to tell the difference is if you have, the next time I'm gonna have to run that water through. It's so hot already that the hose water that's sitting in the sun, I'm just cleaning the scales off the table here. The hose water is like really hot. Not hot, but warm. And obviously when you're dealing with fish, you want conditions as cold as possible. So as soon as I get done with this guy, I'm gonna get him in ice, which I would have done anyway, but. Alright, so you get all your scales off of your surface before you start filleting. Try to get as many off of the fish as you can. Even though you scooped them off with a spoon, there's going to be some that are stuck to the fish. So, whew, it's slippery. The only part of it that's not slippery is sharp. Alright, so I've got some really sharp knives here, and every time I clean an animal on my channel, I talk about how important it is that your utensils be incredibly sharp. Always, if you're buying fish from a fishmonger, choose fish with bright, clear eyes. This one's very fresh. I caught it probably 10 p.m. last night. We're going to cut right behind this fin. We're going to cut along here. We're going to cut there, and then we're going to gently go under that fillet, but over the bones. That's the goal. I try to clean a fish every year of some sort just so I can keep up on the method, but I'm by no means an expert. So if you're not an expert or you've never cleaned a fish, I hope this encourages you to do that. And kids are at mom's, husband's shopping, so I don't have anybody to hold the camera right over me as I get this fillet off, so you'll probably want to look up a few more videos definitely online that show you exactly how to fillet a fish, and try to find some that are done by experts. When you do this, try not to pierce the gut. I think I may just have done that. It's just going to make it more difficult for you to clean the fish. And you don't need to necessarily or want to go that deep, because you're trying to, that's why I can't cut right there. There was a scale. You're trying to cut the fillet that's over the bones. You're not trying to cut through the bones. So, and you know, if it's not perfect, that's okay, because you're doing it yourself. You're developing a skill, and I think that in itself is an important thing to do. And if you take a charter boat, if you come visit us in Alabama and take a charter boat, they will clean your fish for you, depending on the captain, sometimes for free. Usually they'll charge you just a small fee to clean your fish, and they'll pack it for you. You can ship it home or take it home, depending on how you got to this beautiful state of ours. Okay, and I don't think I'm getting into the bones, which is good. I see still a lot of meat under this fillet that I'm doing, but I'm trying to be overly cautious on the side of not getting any bones, because I do have kids, and gotta sneeze. Oh, went away. I do have kids, and they're going to be eating this fish, so I'm going to make sure they don't get bones in it. I'm also going to put a link in the description below to heavy metal levels in fish. For snapper, you don't want to eat snapper more than once per week, per person, 1 serving per week. If you're a female, I think men can eat 2 servings. And then if you're pregnant or you're thinking about getting pregnant, I would eat like maybe 1 serving every couple of weeks. And the reason why is because of, you know, fish has a lot of good health qualities, but we have just, our over-dependence on fossil fuel has just really done a number on our oceans and our planet. You know, regardless of what you believe about climate change and all that, you can't deny the heavy metal levels that are in our fish, our wild-caught fish, and it's completely human caused, those elevated levels of metal. So here's my fillet. Not the prettiest fillet in the world, and I did get, I think, some bone right there at that end. Kept the skin on. I love fish skin. Love it, so crispy and good. And then I'm going to put this on ice, but I will wash the fillets again before I freeze them. And then snapper's not going to last that long. So there's the fish. I noticed when I was getting up here, his ribs are just right there. So there is a lot of meat there. If you live in an adult-only household, and it's just going to be adults. Let's see what the level of that rib was. It's just going to be adults eating the fish. Then it may be worth your while to, and certainly a lot quicker, to cut the head off and gut the fish, keep the tail intact, and then you can cook it like that, and you can pick the meat out of the bones, which is actually incredibly satisfying. I think it's similar to, you know, when you have a crawfish boil, half of the satisfaction comes out of the work of getting to the meat. So that's kind of a nice rustic way to eat fish. It's certainly a lot quicker, and I definitely cut too deep on this side. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up,